Well, hello you beautiful weirdos. How are you today? Was that creepy? That felt creepy. This video is going to be very short because I'm not sure if I'm an idiot for making it, but I haven't seen anyone talk about it, so that's what we're going to do today. I've been doing a ton of testing for some upcoming videos, and during all of this, I stumbled onto something that most of you probably knew already, but I didn't because I've been so focused on the consecration aspect. The Solar Titan subclass acts just like Void when it comes to charged and uncharged melees. When we're using Void, our uncharged melees count as a charged melee while we have an overshield active. This same concept applies to Solar if we have Roaring Flames active. It counts and it doesn't count at the same time, if that makes any bit of sense. And don't worry, I'm going to explain. If we have at least one stack of Roaring Flames, any uncharged melee technically counts as a charged ability. So what this means is, if we get an uncharged melee kill while Roaring Flames is active, it'll continue to extend the 20-second timer and add additional stacks, capping out at the normal 3 stacks of course. But it doesn't stop there. These uncharged melees also proc Scorch, Ignition, can create sunspots from Sol Invictus, and drop Elemental Wells from Melee Wellmaker. This synergizes well with some of our fragments and exotics, so it kinda becomes a game changer. The only thing this uncharged melee can't do is take advantage of the Charged Light mod heavy-handed. It won't consume a stack of Charged Light or give us the 50% melee energy back. And this is why I said it doesn't count as a melee at the same time. This is a big deal when it comes to exotics like the Syntheseps or Worm God Caress, because now these uncharged melees are amped up on steroids from the exotics. And if we start adding in fragments, we end up with a fiery hot mess.
Have you ever poured hot vinegar on a hemorrhoid? Well, either have I, but that's what I imagine this build feels like to all the ads you're murdering.
That was from one of my earlier videos. Yeah, how times have changed, huh? The main point of this video was to talk about that, but I put a simple build together that focuses on melees and healing. The goal is to apply as much Scorch as possible to everything in our path by any means necessary through various fragments and this uncharged, charged melee situation we have at hand. For the melee, we're using Hammer Strike because it's fun as hell, it applies a ton of Scorch stacks, and if we kill an enemy with it, they automatically ignite. Plus it pairs nicely with the artifact mod Withering Heat to weaken champions. The aspects we're going with are Roaring Flames and Sol Invictus. This simple build wouldn't work without Roaring Flames because the whole thing is centered around it, and the main reason behind choosing Sol Invictus is for restoration while standing in a sunspot, along with the bonus ability regeneration. This lets us get up close and personal with all the ads while we punch them to death. Going back to Roaring Flames, the fragments are closely tied to it so we can apply all sorts of Scorch. The fragments are Ember of Searing to gain anywhere from 15 to 30% melee energy back from scorching targets. That percentage is dependent on what rank the enemy is. Ember of Ashes to apply more Scorch stacks when we apply Scorch. And in case anyone was ever wondering, it applies 50% more stacks in most situations. And the last 2 fragments are Ember of Eruption and Ember of Char. These 2 make the ignition explosion have a wider radius and spread Scorch to targets affected by ignitions. So it's like giving the ads herpes, only with fire. Anyways, the mods for this build are just something I threw together to help recharge our melee and supply a constant healing buff at the same time. The 4 Elemental Well mods are Bountiful Wells, Well of Life, Melee Wellmaker, and Elemental Charge. These mods will supply us with 2 Elemental Wells on successful melee kills from both the charged and uncharged melees. They also give us a constant healing buff from Well of Life and grants 2 stacks of Charged Light for the last mod, which is, you guessed it, heavy-handed. This mod will give us 50% of our melee energy back when meleeing something with our charged melee. We technically don't need heavy-handed unless you plan on using the charged melee a lot. I put it there on the off chance that you decide to use Peregrine Greaves instead of Syntheseps or Worm Gods. Peregrine Greaves works fantastic with this build. The only downside is that we don't get the amped up uncharged melee damage like we do with the other 2 exotics, so we end up needing our charged melee more often. The only thing required for this build is your fist, the Worm God Caress, Syntheseps, or Peregrine Greaves. That's it. I know this isn't some game-breaking build, but it's a lot of fun when it comes to applying Scorch or clearing activities with only a fist. This uncharged solar melee thing is something I learned recently, so I wanted to share it in case any of you didn't know already. If you found this video helpful, a like would be awesome, but more importantly, be true to yourself, be good to one another, and have a fantastic day. Thank you! And sorry for my voice, I keep thinking I'm 20 and I can still scream in punk bands. But yeah, okay. Have a good day.
And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. I don't fucking take smoke, I'ma poke a hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude. Crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently. Thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this ride